Hello and welcome to Business Insight. I am Blessing Aichi. As the name implies, Business Insight is to provide you with deeper insight on business and economic matters. To set the tone, let's bring you a roundup of business stories from around the globe. After this break, stay tuned. All right, now let's begin with the roundup of business stories, beginning from Nigeria, where the NRC notified passengers about fraudulent ticketing website. In an official statement signed by the managing director, Mr. Fidet Okiria, the Nigeria Railway Corporation (NRC) has issued a warning to passengers regarding the risk of falling prey to deceptive cyberspace criminals claiming to sell online tickets for the Lagos to Ibadan route. Mr. Okiria urged passengers to exercise caution and only purchase train tickets from designated railway stations to avoid becoming victims of fraud. Furthermore, the NRC revealed its ongoing efforts to implement a secure online ticketing system for the Lagos to Ibadan and Warri to Itakpe train services in the near future. The corporation says it remains committed to working diligently to provide a reliable and trustworthy online ticket experience for its passengers. In a momentous stride towards advancing sustainable energy, the World Bank has announced a groundbreaking initiative to finance the construction of 1,000 mini solar power grids in Nigeria, the largest economy in Africa. President A.J. Banga of the World Bank revealed this transformative endeavor during a significant announcement on Saturday, working in close collaboration with the Nigerian government and the private sector. With a population exceeding 200 million, Nigeria faces a stark contrast between its installed power generation capacity of 12,500 megawatts and limited actual production. As a result, millions of households and businesses heavily rely on fossil fuel power generators. The introduction of mini-grid compact electricity generation units ranging from a few kilowatts to up to 10 megawatts offers hope in addressing this energy crisis. Each mini-grid has the potential to electrify around 200 households, significantly improving electricity access. The urgency of this initiative is evident as World Bank data reveals that 568 million people in sub-Saharan Africa still lack electricity access, with nearly 8 out of 10 of them residing within the continent of Africa. Still in Africa, Zimbabwe president has inaugurated 600 megawatt coal-fired power plant, and the president, Emerson Mnangagwa, has officially opened a new 600 megawatt coal-fired power plant in Honghe, marking a significant milestone in the country's efforts to address its chronic power shortages. The strategic endeavor, funded by China through a $1.2 billion loan, showcases the government's commitments to tackling energy deficiencies ahead of national elections. The newly commissioned power station also serves as a cornerstone of President Mnangagwa's campaign to position himself as proactive in revitalizing the economy and infrastructure. This momentous achievement comes amidst a challenging economic landscape characterized by hyperinflation, poverty, and high unemployment rates. The power plant stands as a symbol of progress and stability, with President Mnangagwa emphasizing its role in driving development and economic growth, with a strong focus on self-sufficiency. The inauguration highlights Zimbabwe's dedication to fostering international partnerships, particularly with China, a long-standing ally dating back to the country's struggle for independence. The coal-fired power plant is part of a series of energy projects supported by Chinese financing, underscoring Zimbabwe's determination to bolster its energy infrastructure and strengthen ties with global counterparts. As the nation navigates economic challenges and international sanctions, the completion of this power plant represents a notable step towards sustainable development and enhanced energy resilience. Now to the Middle East, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, PIF, has published its highly anticipated annual report for 2022. This revealed an impressive milestone of surpassing 2.23 trillion riyals in assets under management. According to the report, the PIF achieved a total shareholders' return of 8% in 2022, while also making significant strides in these investment activities. Throughout the year, the fund established 22 new companies in strategic sectors, channeling 120 billion riyals locally. Launched as Saudi's Crown Prince economic initiative to reduce dependence on oil, the PIF has strategically expanded its presence globally. With the establishment of subsidiary offices in London, New York, and Hong Kong, the fund aims to foster continued growth and solidify its position as the preferred partner for global investors. The release of the annual report provides a comprehensive overview of the PIF's accomplishments in 2022 and highlights its commitments to driving economic diversification and sustainable investment practices in Saudi Arabia and beyond. Still in the Middle East, Dubai has incorporated electric vehicles into its fleet of luxury patrols. Now, this is to enforce authority, according to Dubai Police, and has raised the bar in its fleet of patrol vehicles by introducing the cutting-edge electric Mercedes-Benz EQS 580. This move is in line with Dubai's unwavering commitment to innovation and sustainability. Adorned in the iconic green livery of the Dubai Police, the vehicle boasts a dual-engine configuration, delivering an impressive horsepower of up to 516. Its dynamic capabilities allow it to accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in an astonishing 4.3 seconds, showcasing its formidable performance attributes. Notably, the electric marvel can cover an impressive distance of up to 717 kilometers on a full charge, underscoring its efficiency and extended range. This progressive move exemplifies Dubai's police dedication to enhancing not only security measures but also environmental consciousness. By introducing the electric Mercedes-Benz EQS 580, Dubai Police set a commendable precedent for sustainable and technologically advanced law enforcement practices. This strategic addition not only aligns with the city's luxurious reputation, but also underscores its forward-thinking approach towards efficient and eco-friendly mobility solutions. Google has rolled out its updated inactivity policy, prompting users to take note of the impending December 1 deadline. After this date, Google will commence the deletion of accounts that have remained inactive. In a recent advisory, the tech giant announced a revision to the inactivity period for Google accounts, setting it at 2 years. This change applies universally across all of Google's products and services, including Gmail. According to Google, an account is deemed inactive if the user hasn't logged into it within a 2-year period. Elaborating on the deadline, Google clarified that an inactive account and any content in it will be eligible for deletion from December 1, 2023, adding that important, once a Gmail address is deleted, it cannot be reused to create a new account. To ensure users are well informed, Google stated that multiple notifications will be sent before any email content is permanently deleted. And finally, moving now to the U.S., where the Federal Reserve official has said more rate hike may be necessary to combat inflation. According to the central bank official, the United States might be adding additional interest rates to combat inflation, following recent policy changes that raised rates to their highest level since 2001. Federal Reserve Governor Michelle Bowman made these remarks after a mixed employment report on Friday, which indicated a slowdown in hiring in the U.S., even though wages remained robust. Bowman expressed support for the Federal Open Markets Committee's decision to raise rates in July, citing strong economic data and persistent inflationary pressures. The Labor Department's data showed that the U.S. economy added 187,000 jobs in July and 185,000 jobs in June, indicating a slowdown in job growth compared to previous months. Some analysts caution that this level of job growth might still be too high for the Federal Reserve's liking. The federal official emphasized the importance of observing consistent evidence that inflation is on a meaningful path towards the central bank's target of 2%. As officials prepare for their next rate decision in late September, they will closely assess the upcoming labor market report for August, along with inflation readings to gauge the trajectory of the economy and inflationary pressures. Now let's turn to stock market report, beginning with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the total shares traded was 363,147,258. Total deals stood at 6,644. The market value was over 6 billion. Now, compared to the previous trading day, the volume declined by 18%, but turnover improved by 19%. Deals declined by 6% as well. And then market capitalization still stands at 35.5 trillion naira. Now to the top gainers, we have GlaxoSmithKline, and we also have Cadbury Nigeria, Mortgage Bank, and Cheddarams as top gainers. On the losers list, we have Eterna, we also have Maya, Ikeja Hotel, University Press, and some others. And for the top traded shares, we had Transcorp Nigeria with 29.3 million shares, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings with 28.4 million shares, FCMB Group with 26.8 million shares, Zenith Bank 23.9 million shares. Moving now to the Malawi Stock Exchange as of Friday, the 4th of August, 2023. Now, you do know that for African markets, the trading week is mostly 5 days. So total shares traded at the Malawi market stood at 598,803. Market value stood at 71,804,998 Malawian kwacha. Compared to the previous trading day, the volume declined by 85% and turnover also declined by 74%. The current market capitalization stands at 6.17 trillion Malawian kwacha. And for the top gainers, we have Old Mutual at 9.38%, FMB Capital Holdings at 3.82%, and FDH at 0.22%. On the losers list, we have Airtel Malawi. For the top traded shares, we have FDH Bank at 225,000 shares, MBS Bank at 173,832 shares, Telecom Networks Malawi at 150,658 shares, and then FMB Capital Holdings 27,385 shares. Let's now talk about exchange rates, where the Naira currently exchanges in major currencies as follows. To the dollar, the Naira exchanges at 765 Naira, and then you just see the orders on the screen. For commodities, let's take a look at what they exchange at. Okay, so the crude oil, Brent crude at the commodity market is selling at slightly over $86 per barrel. We also have gold selling at $1,936 per troy ounce, and 23 for silver, it sells at $23 per troy ounce, and wheat sells at 647 United States cents per bushel. That wraps it up on the news segment. We're going to break and we'll begin to analyze these issues so they can make sense for you. And we'll be looking at the contributions of small businesses to the Nigerian economy. You do not want to miss any of the discussions. So I ask that you stay. Thanks for staying tuned to Business Insight. Now, for some of the stories that you heard during the news segment, particularly the ones that had to do with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the Malawi Stock Exchange, let's make some sense of all of that. I have Sam Oruji, who is Director, Policy, Research and Development, Femi Wash Limited, joining me here today. Good morning, sir.
A pleasure to be here, Blessing.
So let's look at some of the events that took place at the last trading day at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. That was Friday. So this is Monday. Until the end of today, we would not have the activities that have occurred at the market. But looking at the trading day for Friday, the 4th of August 2023, the total share traded was 363,147,258, and we also had a total deal of 6,644. But the summary of it all is that compared to the previous trading day, which was Thursday, the 3rd of August 2023, there was a decline in volume of 18%, and there was also a decline in deals by 6%. So maybe one would have expected that since there was a decline in the number of deals and also in the volume, maybe that would have affected turnover, but turnover improved by 19%.
Yeah, I think the turnover essentially is a response to the market, and indeed, I think if I am correct, the volume traded on the FBN holding was remarkable, and I think this is as a result of the last results that the group posted after a long while. I think people are looking forward to getting some scrip issues, what you call a dividend. That may be responsible for some of those things. A few other stock were equally on the rise based on the indicators that the market put through for those trading last week. Despite the decline, I think the market still look promising.
Okay, let's see how promising the Malawi Stock Exchange looks. The total share traded was 598,803 as at Friday, and had a market value of 71,804,998 Malawian kwacha. Now, compared to the previous trading day, Thursday, the volume declined by 85%. Turnover also declined by 74%.
Again, I think it's just a reaction to the market. That market is a bit volatile, stock market generally. I think maybe by the end of today, there might be changes in those trends. So it's not too bad. It's just a reaction to the trading on that particular day. So let's be hopeful that there might be some changes at the end of today trading, being a Monday, the beginning day of a new week. I think the markets generally are not really too bad.
Okay, so moving to the U.S. now, where the central bank official is suggesting that additional interest rates might be necessary to combat the soaring inflation. Now, we've also seen things like this happen in Nigeria, where the Central Bank of Nigeria, through a lot of measures, tried to reduce inflation rate, and so sometimes by also increasing interest rates. So how do you see this happening in the U.S.?
I think the role of the Treasury Bank, which is like the central bank, is to regulate interest rates. This again is to find a way to sustain the economy. So therefore, some of those decisions that are made are driven by micro and the microeconomic consideration of the United States of America as we speak. That was last week. But again, the bank has the responsibility to stabilize the rates within the economy to sustain some growth.
Now, talking about the economy, let's get into the topic for discussion today. We're looking at the role of small businesses in the economy. There are different businesses that make up the economy of any country, and you also have the small businesses sector. So we'll pick one of them to talk about today, and that is the retail sector. Looking at the retail business, if you go around town, if you go to different places, you find new ones are springing up. But first, let's get to understand really what is a retail business.
Okay, if you look at it from the perspective of trade marketing, You have what you call channels of distribution. So you have the wholesaler, the middleman, and the retailer. The retailers are lower in the value chain in terms of the distribution network. So what they do is where consumer or customers have a direct contact with those who sell products and services. So the retail is the final channel in terms of the distribution strategy. So I think there are a lot of development in the retail sector, is expanding, and I think they are trying to help in terms of how consumers get the goods to their various households.
So, but what kind of retail businesses do we have in Nigeria, so we can identify when we see one, oh, this is a retail business, or in case somebody wants to get into one, he knows, oh, that is the kind of business I want to invest in?
No, what do you mean in terms of
the types of retail businesses?
Okay.
In what form do they come?
Okay, you have a lot. You have the supermarkets that does that. I won't, for the purpose of advert, I won't mention specific notes, names.
But once you say supermarkets, I think that's relatable.
Supermarkets, superstores that help to deliver household items. Then you even have the local retailers who sells in various markets. They are within the retail network, and they drive the process, the distribution, to get goods into the household.
Okay, now we've seen that for every business there are challenges and there are also changes. Let's look at the changes. How was the retail business done before this time, and how do you think it's happening now? What change do you see in the way retail business is being run now?
I think with the emergence of international franchise into the retail market, that has improved, and there are a lot of local entry into the market. In spite of those challenges, I think people are now using those retailers to get their household item. Therefore, there's improvement in terms of entry into the market. You have new local players. The kind of program will not permit us to mention some. So you have some local brands who are doing very well in that sector. The challenge now is that the amount of disposable income that is available to consumer is a major challenge. So to what extent that will impact positively or negatively on the business remain to be seen in the nearest future.
Besides disposable income, what are the other challenges that a retailer is likely to face?
You have a supply chain problem. With the increase in fuel, this will have implications for transportation of goods and services. To a large extent, that will impact on retail operation. Their cost of supply chain will go up slightly, and that, again, will be passed on to the consumer. That's a major challenge.
Let's talk about competition. You know, these days you have a lot of stores online as you have them in shops, physical shops that you can actually see. So how do you think the online stores or e-commerce is affecting the mortar and brick retail stores in terms of competition?
Okay. Yeah, competition
prices,
is always...
the variety of goods, access.
I think competition is good. You have online and you have the bricks and mortar around. But what is important, each sector we find a way to sustain its business. The online shops are there, but those goods, even when you buy online, they still need to be distributed and supplied to people at the back end, at the front end. So what is important is that online shops have come to stay. They compete favorably with the other supermarket, or also what do you call them, retail outlets or stores. So what is important is that competition will be there, but then people will still prefer visiting retail outlets to do their shopping. All are complementing each other. But in terms of business strategy, those who are online, maybe is better for them in terms of what they return on business. Then the other people will look at the cost implication of people that come into their store to purchase goods. These are issues, these are business issues, that only business owner would be really competent to speak on at this particular point in time. But I do know that the first subsidy removal will have impact on both businesses, because the cost of distributing those items, even when you book online, to various outlets is equally a challenge, like I mentioned earlier. So I think most business owners, we put on their thinking cap and see how they can overcome these challenges to sustain their businesses.
Now, talking of putting on thinking caps, skilled labor, it seems to be something that is not so easy to find in a lot of retail shops. You get to a retail shop and you need guidance. You need expert guidance on what particular product to pick. And so you seek the opinion or the advice of some of the sales rep, and some tell you, well, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that does. How do you find that?
I think that's to a very large extent a merchandising challenge. And I think what is important is that some of those manufacturers, the wholesalers, must recruit sales agents into some of those research outlets who can help to arrange the merchandise so that people can easily get to the lines where the product or the household item that they are looking for are properly arranged. So I think they should strike a relationship, those who are retailers, with the wholesalers, so that they can help them in the merchandising the product. So the product arrangement, there are scientific way in which you arrange products in the stores. Therefore, you need the guidance of the wholesalers to help the retailers, so that when consumers come into those stores, they are able to get into the environment where they are, the specific item that they are looking for. So it's a merchandising challenge. And I think retailers too must upscale the skills set of those who they bring as agents, so that they can help to guide consumer through in terms of making the buying decision when they are in the stores.
Now, some people feel like the retailers that are having the organized shop as sort of stifling their own business with the inclusion of the products that they deal on. Now, before now, you would go to a retail shop or a supermarket, and then you get groceries. Maybe for those that deal on drugs too, maybe a pharmacy and store, you can also get pharmaceutical products. But these days, there's hardly any products you're looking for that you can find in some wide range shops, up to vegetables, perishable items, your protein needs, every other thing you can find. So some people in open markets sometimes feel like these people are in strong competition with us. Should it be, since it's not an open market, you deal on certain items, but when it comes to perishable, you should just leave it for the open market, or it's a free-for-all kind of thing?
I think it's a free-for-all kind of thing, in my view. I think most of the retail outlets are responding to what you call consumer behavior. They have done a lot of market intelligence. Therefore, they are responding to the way people want to do their buying in recent times. So on the other side, on the open market, they equally need to upscale in terms of the way they arrange their goods.
Oh,
and
packaging.
items as packaging become very imperative in modern business. So they are responding to consumer buying behavior. Consumer habits are changing. Therefore, even the local people are equally improving in the ways they arrange their stuff. So I think it's good for business. It's good for the consumer.
All right. Now, the pricing templates we usually find, I don't know if it's a template for all of them, but usually see retail shops going with the pricing. If an item, for instance, is to be sold for 2,000 naira, you will not find it written the price tag 2,000 naira. You get to see 1,999 naira. So by the time a consumer is done shopping and you buy everything, you have some little change. But how do you go collecting that change? Isn't that some form of deception, making the consumer think they are cheaper? But at the end of the day, what comes like the change, the reduction, at the end of the day, you can't get it.
No, I think it's a challenge for business owner, and at a personal level, I frown at the practice where after concluding your transaction in those stores, you are not able to get your fraction, your change. But on the other hand, I think those discount levels that were established is to drive in consumer into those stores. And I think ethically there's nothing wrong in that practice. But what is important is that the point of sales officers or personnel more often than not don't provide you with a change. I think it's the responsibility of management to insist that people must have their changes when they do transaction. So for regulatory agency, the Consumer Protection Council, particularly they have one in Lagos State, and at the federal level, should work closely with these stores with a view to finding a way that consumers are not shortchanged after their purchases.
How has technology impacted the retail business?
No, technology is an enabler and is a facilitator for business. It should be encouraged. Therefore, that will help even where you do your purchases. Technology enables in terms of you have your bills calculated, you can quickly do some arithmetic and you're able to get value. Technology too, again, can even guide you when you are in the store trying to make purchases. So these are really, really important elements. Technology is a driver, is an enabler. It must be encouraged beyond even retail purchases.
Now, still speaking about technology, we know that Nigeria has embraced technology to a great extent, but I don't know, do you think that the technology available to retail shops or retailers in other climes is quite available here? Are retailers in Nigeria in any way disadvantaged when it comes to access to certain technology that will enable their business, in your assessment?
I think that's an investment decision by business owner. In this regard, we're talking about retailers. Well, in terms of artificial intelligence penetration, in terms of the retail network, we're still not there yet, but I do know that as competition get ongoing, there's a need for business owner to invest in those sectors. Therefore, new investment from foreign competition into the Nigerian market will help to drive that process. But I think at the level of play, we're not there yet. But I think there's an opportunity for business owner to invest so that they can get at the level where other retailers operate elsewhere.
Now, talking about investment, are there room for foreign investment in retail business in Nigeria?
There are a lot of foreign operators.
Okay. Yeah. And if there are foreign operators, what sectors, what type of retail business would you prefer that these investments go into? You mentioned some of the type of retail businesses that we have, but very popular is that of the supermarkets, but I know there are others. So what would you want to see more, and what do you think will help the economy more? I think
retail is retail. I think what is important is that everybody should invest whichever sector that the investment opportunity potent for those who have money to invest. So I don't think there should be a restriction on what type of or which type of retail that people should invest in. But you have a lot of foreign competition here. You have some franchise arrangement ongoing here. Then you have some local investors that are scaling to the level of the international operators within the market. We do know that there are some challenges in some of the major retail people in Nigeria. Some have invested, and some Nigerians have bought into those businesses. And I'm sure that some other people will equally upscale their businesses in those areas.
They say government has no business doing business, but in a time like this where there's been so much cry over the removal of subsidy, would you subscribe to government getting into the realty business as a way of providing certain goods at very affordable rates to people? We've seen something like that happen in some states. Would you subscribe to something like that? And how should it be run? No,
I don't really subscribe to government getting involved in merchandising, or what you call retail. What is important is that government should provide an enabling environment for business to thrive. Therefore, what it should do what are the environments that are conducive? How do you sustain those environments? What are the incentives for people to invest in those areas? Are there any tax holidays for foreign investors in those sectors? But by and large, government should act as a facilitator for investors to play in those business space. So constantly, government should provide the ease of doing business so that people can bring in money. We can get foreign direct investment, then we can have local entrepreneurs equally invest in those areas so that we can grow the size of the economy and people can do purchases from whichever store they like to do business with.
Now let's come to inventory management. One thing that also happens sometimes in very wide stores that offer a wide range of products is that some goods sometimes get expired without a notice of those who run the business or those who are put there as sales reps or whatever position that they offer. It takes a customer to wanting to buy that, and then you check the expiry date, you find that it has already expired. Now the excuse sometimes is that, oh, this is a very big store, so it's not possible to know everything. How can retailers ensure proper inventory management?
I think the challenge here for most business owners, with due respect, is that they don't want to recruit some professionals to do the business. So this is a supply chain management issue. What is important is that there's what you call ordering and reordering levels. Once you have those factors well considered, a spreadsheet can be drawn up when you have specialists who run those inventory management. And therefore, no expired goods should find its way into the shelf. So again, the regulatory agencies must be upfront in terms of their supervisory role. They go into these stores from time to time and they can impound expired goods that they see on the shelves. So I think it's a management issue. I would like to suggest that most of the supply retailers must employ specialists who are very good in supply chain management, good in inventory management, so that you don't have expired products on the line. And if customers get a hold on such thing, there is within their right as well to approach the Consumer Protection Council to seek a redress that they have purchased expired goods from a particular store.
Another issue on that is the absence of even the expiry date, the manufacture date or the expiry date. And it's quite common with foreign products, imported goods. You don't find the manufacturing date or the date was manufactured. You also don't find the expiring date. And it may be assumed that, oh, because it's a foreign product, it wasn't produced in Nigeria. But for any product that should sell in Nigeria, whether made in Nigeria or not, there should be an indication of the shelf life of that product. Why do we find that in retail shops?
Again, this is a regulatory failure. What is important is there's what you call a good manufacturer practice, GMP, which take cognizance of coding mechanism where the life shelves of goods are encoded in the product. But what is important, some of those goods that come in don't come through the regular route into the country. So at the point of entry, the customs must do their job diligently so that those goods don't come. Then for local manufacturing, it's important that they must maintain good manufacturing practice. NAFDAC, on the other hand, must equally improve on their surveillance and regulatory framework to forestall goods getting into the stores in the first instance. And where such things are found, such organizations should be penalized and be punished adequately so that it serves as deterrent to other market operators within that sector.
Okay, now that you mentioned manufacturers, what role does the retail sector play in support to the local manufacturers and local producers?
Retailers are to give feedback in terms of the perception of how the commodities are seen at the point of retail back to the wholesaler. So there's a mutual relationship between wholesalers and retailers. I think there's a support system that exists between them, including the middleman that is between the wholesaler and the retailer. So that mutual relationship must be sustained so that we sustain a good manufacturing practice and we don't have counterfeit and expired products in the shelves of retail outlets.
Now, since we're talking about the role of small businesses in the economy, and today the focus is on retail business, what role does the retail business play in the Nigerian economy?
Well, they are part of the players in the economy, and they equally sustain part of the economy. So they play a major role in terms of the activities they undertake. So just like any other business, they are part of the business space that contributes their little quota to the GDP of the Nigerian economy.
Okay, so let's look at the changes that have come into the retail space, adapting to these changes. What would it require in a time like this, or in a season where we have e-commerce and we also have the brick and mortar kind of realty? So what would it require a retail business in this time and age to succeed? Again, considering what would it require from a retail business to succeed in this time and age, considering that we have e-commerce, we have online retail shops, we have the brick and mortar retail shops, and we have consumer behavior also changing. So in adapting to these changes, what would a retailer need to succeed?
Well, again, it's dependent on the business model of those who have invested in those sectors. Number two, they must play in line with competition. They must understand the changing dynamics of consumer behavior. Finally, what are the economic reality over time? They must react into what the market is up to and how consumer respond to the changing dynamics of the market. So business owners and investors must understand that competition exists. Consumers are becoming very sensitive, driven by technology. All this interplay must come into play when investors are making decisions in terms of their investment into retail or other sectors within that business space.
Now, one advantage that the online stores have is that you have the analytics to help you analyze your consumer behavior. But for the physical shops, because you will still have the physical shop, for some persons it's just very easy and very quick. You need something, you walk into a shop, you pick an item, then the time it takes for you to place an order and it gets to you. So what mechanism can those physical shops put in place to ensure they also get a feedback, which in a way helps them study the behavior of their customers, and so they know what goods to stock and how to get things?
I think in line with good practice between wholesalers and retailers, I know that there are a lot of research that wholesalers, particularly manufacturers, do on behalf of the retailers. The retailers on their own have suggestion boards, and they have things in which they use to elicit customer feedback mechanism, unlike the online, which is spontaneous to a large extent. There's research companies that help manufacturers to see what are the feedback from the retail stores or retail outlets.
In terms of policies and initiatives, are there specific ones that perhaps the government will need to look into or make to create an enabling business environment specifically for the retail sector?
I think essentially, in my view, is just ease of doing business to enable more people to come in, more players to come into that industry. So government is just to facilitate how people can sustain their investment in those areas. So I think what the government needs to do is just to provide a better framework for people to invest in those sectors. And if there are incentives that can enhance e-commerce and other form of business, government should try and encourage more people to come into that space.
Okay, when people are looking for a business to invest in, something to start, they want to become entrepreneurs, they just look at the retail business, particularly that of the supermarkets, and then some feel like, oh, it's quite easy, I just need to get a space, know the kind of goods I get, and then you open for business. Does it require special skill? Is this something one can just go into? You get into the market, you buy different kinds of goods, you stock, and then you begin to sell. Or there are special skills that one should have?
Again, it depends on the level of investment in that area. So if you're in a neighborhood and you want to sell certain item, I don't think you need special skill to do that. All you need to do is just find a way to invest in those areas. Then when you talk about upscale stores, then you need special skills in merchandising, trade management, trade marketing management to be able to upscale your services. And earlier we spoke to the challenge of inventory management. At this point, inventory management, supply chain management, merchandising become very critical to the sustenance of the retail shop business.
What role does location play in a retail business? Does it matter where a retail shop or a retail business is sited? I know that some people say that a good product will sell itself. So if you have good product, is that enough? Or you should carefully pick out your location?
What they say when you want to make investments, there are critical factors that you must look at. And location is one of those factors. So for any kind of business you want to go into, depending on your market research, or your feasibility study, or your business plan. Those factors must be considered. So location is critical, depending on the factor or the kind of investment that you want to bring, the level or the volume of trade that you want to do. So location is essential, but again, depends on the volume of investment, depending on your feasibility study, depending on your business plan, and how you want to play in that sector. Therefore, location is critical, but again, to a very large extent, there's a correlation to the volume of business that you want to do to the location as a factor when making an investment decision.
So it comes down to location, to the volume of the business. Okay, if you want to put in big money into any business, then you should think big about a lot of things and not just make your decision based on input. On a final note, let's look at sector interplay. How has the real estate sector interplayed with other sectors, and how has it benefited other sectors?
I didn't get that question.
Sector interplay. You know, there are some businesses that exist because of other businesses.
Yes.
There are some businesses that exist as a support to other business or facilitate their business. The real estate business, what sector does it complement?
I think it complements almost every sector of the economy. Retails, fundamentally from commerce, they are the last set of people in the distribution chain that get goods to households. Okay. So if from that perspective, if I got your question correctly, or if you are talking about impact of a retail business on the general, the other sectors, I think you have a lot of small and medium enterprises that are feeding into the retail market, local manufacturing, local goods, and are being fed into those retail networks. So people are able to grow those businesses because there's a retail network that supports the marketing of those products. From that perspective, yes, it has expanded the scope of small players. Even nano businesses are able to put their goods. Some even put their goods at the retail shop based on the concept of return on sales. You put your product on display. After they have been sold, then you get a remittance. So that, to a very large extent, has expanded the economy. So that's a very good development, particularly for nanos, those who manufacture chin-chin from their comfort of their home. Scale. Yeah, small scale. They are able to get to a nearest superstore or a retail shop and put their goods there. And that, again, has expanded the economy. So that's encouraging from that perspective.
Thank you very much, Sam Oroji, for being with us on the show today. And this is where we wrap it up on Business Insight. Now you know what the retail business is. We've talked extensively about the types, in what ways that you can also improve your retail business if you are a retailer. We talked about the contribution to the economy. Let's not forget that it is also a job creator, because you have so many persons working in many retail businesses. And that's it. I am Blessing Aichi. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock will be another time for Business Insight. Do enjoy your day.